White Porch Conversations.
You gonna hold that thing the whole time? No, he's not.
He is. You on?
We're rolling.
All right, we're about to start. You gonna wait right there? You got an audience.
Man.
Live studio audience.
Man, I know.
Just like on TV. All right, here we go. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to White Porch Conversations, and we are here on the White Porch. I was hoping that it was going to rain while we were doing. We have never done one in the rain. It would have been a little bit of a different. So, of course, Aaron's probably glad it's not raining because created its only set of issues.
I'm pretty excited it's not raining.
Yeah, he said, I'm pretty excited it's not raining. But, man, I am so excited to be on the White Porch today with somebody I consider. Let me first of all say I consider you to be a great friend. Yes. I not only consider him to be a great friend, I aspire to be like him in so many ways. I tell him all the time, he's one of the smartest guys I know, and I mean it. The guy can do anything. He can make a way to make anything work. Yeah, it's pretty amazing how creative he is. But I'm here with my friend Charlie Anderson, and some of you probably know him as Little Charlie, because. But I just call him Charlie now because now I call your dad Chuck because that's what you call him.
Chuck.
So everybody used to, when I first met the family, everybody said Big Charlie and Little Charlie. Yeah. Well, now he calls him Chuck, so now I call him Chuck and I call you just Charlie. So,
that's right.
Man, thank you for coming to hang out with me a little bit today. And I just love, I love to talk to people who have stories like you, where you know that what they've experienced is just sincere and real, because you're not someone who knew enough about just church in general to try to fake it. I mean, everything that you are is because this is the way that you've experienced it. And
still learning.
Yeah, man. So let's just start with, tell us a little bit about like what life was like before Jesus. And I, for me, let me say this too. When I say before Jesus, I'm talking before you and I connected. I mean, I'm sure there were times where you had been a part of church stuff, and you know, I'm not saying you weren't saved then. Let me rephrase it. Tell me about what life was like before we met, because I know it's changed a lot since then.
A lot. Church-wise, yes. My faith in God, yes, by far. Matter of fact, when I was younger, man, hardly ever went to church. You know, I had an aunt and uncle, Wendy and Paul. They took me rather a good bit with them and their kids down in Augusta. That's probably the most part I went to church. You know, my parents they didn't go. You know, and not nothing bad. I mean, my parents worked all the time. You know, my mom she worked every day, and my dad he's you know right there with her. You know, just to work every day. So we didn't have the opportunity really to go. You know, I didn't. And matter of fact, when I was in high school a little bit, I did attend church some just myself. You know, I was able to drive then. I'd go on like some Wednesday nights, sit in on some Sunday stuff, you know, because I always believed, because for one thing, I was going through all the crazy stuff I'd done. I knew somebody was praying for me. Cause,
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. That's a good way to look at it.
It is. So, you know, it's kind of one of them things, man. I've always believed in God, and, you know, I know everybody has a story to tell, so.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
for sure.
And that's kind of how and me and Casey, you know, we attended church up here before coming to Faith Community, and then we started coming there. And I mean, that's when you always preach, you know, if this church ain't for you, let's find you a place, man. That's the truth. I mean, you need to find somewhere where you're comfortable, and that's where we fell in love there. You know, that's just it.
Yeah, I you know, it's just pretty awesome because I got to grow up with Casey. And I don't know that mine and your path had ever crossed. It's possible at some point that you and I had even run into each other through the years. But I was able to be around Casey a lot growing up, and to see, you know, your whole family, you know, what has happened over the last few years, man. It's just been really awesome to see. So, like, take us through, like, what you would consider to be your story of faith now. Like, okay, like if you were to talk about how you experience God, you know, one of the things that I love in these conversations is it shows everybody that exactly what you just said it better than I was about to say it, that everybody has a story, and that story matters. You know, every aspect, every detail of that story, and your story will connect with someone else in a way that my story doesn't connect with them. So for you guys, for you, you know, number one, I appreciate you as a man, trying to step up, you know, for your family. You know, you sit down there every Sunday on the front row or right at the front.
Well, I Clay don't like you when I sit in front.
Yeah, right there at the front. And to see a man like you come so far in that faith journey, I just, you know, tell us how it started for you.
Believing what, you know, like, man, you can believe in God, and you can, you could have some small testimonies of something, you know what I mean? And, man, some of our biggest things happen with our kids, you know, seeing prayer work through my kids, you know, seeing prayer work through mine and my wife's marriage, things like that. But as far as the walk starting, I mean, I guess it's attending the church and listening to the word and putting the word what's been in your life, and then you kind of put the word to what's happening in your life, and I guess that's what made my walk start with that, you know. And everybody knows I'm nowhere near perfect, you know, but you struggle, but that's where it started for me.
Yeah.
You know, is listening to a word and saying, hey, I get that because I'm going through this and that, you know.
Yeah.
And so it all starts intertwining, man. It's like braiding hair then, you know. It's and then
That's a good illustration. I
Yeah.
like that. Golly.
And then
That'll preach right there. It's like braiding hair. That's pretty good right there.
Yeah, and so once you get that walk and that faith, man, and I'm gonna tell you, a lot of it was one time when Kason was
I was gonna ask you about this specific story.
It was Palmer. It was Palmer in the hospital when they couldn't touch her, you know.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of my biggest prayers that got answered, and it was such a specific prayer that you prayed. I said, man, that's got to be something to live up to. I'm glad I didn't pray that.
Yeah.
Because you put it down to the hours we left, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was an emotional turn for me.
Come on, man. Those of you guys who don't know, I was going to ask you about the other story, but now that you've brought that one up, man, his youngest child was born with a very rare
skin
disease.
Yeah, not a
I
disorder,
wasn't
but-
sure if it was blood or skin or what it was.
Yeah.
But they couldn't touch her. Literally couldn't touch her.
Everywhere
she
they
was
touched-
literally burning.
Yeah.
I mean, basically burning to death. It seemed like.
Everywhere they'd touch her, put IV in, the skin would just start peeling off of her, you know. And so they couldn't touch her no more, couldn't give her. And you hear people say, you know, have trouble with you know, prayer and all, and they say, well, they got medicines to fix a lot of things, brother. That was not medicine that
They
done
didn't
that.
have no medicine for that.
Because they could not get it in her. So, you know.
And then we prayed together that day, and
you
sure
come
enough,
in that
man.
Sunday.
Yeah, it was a Sunday.
You prayed, I want to say it was like 72 hours.
I think so.
You was very specific in the prayer we left on that Wednesday. It was,
Yeah. Unbelievable story. And then another story that you guys went through that I know that we prayed for, where, man, the God's hand of protection was all over it. And your dad probably, every time I've ever talked to him, maybe one of the most emotional conversations I ever have with anybody is when your dad remembers that moment. Was it Kason?
It was.
And what was it? A motor
Motor
fell.
hoist.
Just
motor
a hoist.
Yep. And it was one that stood up, the legs stood up, the whole thing. And it was propped up against a pole. And man, he just kind of climbed on it, touched it wrong, and then he did it. It fell on him, and stage 4 liver laceration. Man, he knocked out on me. You know, he I don't know if he was choking or what. Man, I had to stick his. Didn't know Heimlich maneuver. We was just talking about that, but you know, I stuck my fingers down his throat. That's the only thing I knew to do to clear his airways. Still, I'm on the tailgate of my truck, and man, I thought my kid was gone. You know, because he hadn't turned out.
Yeah.
So that was very rough. That wasn't kind of rough. That was very rough. And to see his demeanor in the hospital, and the problem was he was losing so much blood. You know.
Yeah. That was really early from when I met you. That was right at the beginning of me and you kind of connecting. That was a very scary situation, and how God was able to give full recovery to a situation that, man, everybody was worried. We didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah. And that was scary. I mean, even though the fact that how it happened, but it was just scary.
Yeah. So again, man, you know, thinking about your story and the way that you said it a minute ago was I believed in God because I knew through everything that I've been through.
I don't know if it was
Somebody was
grandma
praying.
or what, but
Yeah.
somebody was praying.
Yeah, man, a lot of stories like that. And then, stories with you growing up, you've told me about where, God's protected you. I mean, I know you can think of a lot of different times that you should have not made it home that night,
Exactly.
whatever. And he's been with you, man.
Yes.
And
That's one reason, you gotta pray no matter what about a lot of things, and then I was thinking about this too earlier. I had a shop teacher. He always just said, do right. You could sit there and say, pray about everything, which is good, but man, sometimes about just doing right. And then, that'll all fall into place with prayer and just doing right. And that was one thing he always told me, just do right. Just remember that, just do right. And you got to treat people right, and in my line of work, I deal with a lot of people, so.
yeah. Well, one of my favorite things about you that I wanted to get into a little bit is there are so many times you and I are in a conversation, or you will instigate a conversation because you want to talk about something that the Lord has spoken to you.
Yeah.
And I know that is a big struggle for so many people, of learning how to grow in hearing God and recognizing God, with you. And I don't want to take away from you, telling us how that works for you. I've heard you talk about visions that you've seen, things that he said. I mean, just so many different ways where you've recognized God trying to communicate with you. And that's something, man, you will never know how much when you do that it excites me to know that you are growing in the art of trying to listen, pay attention, that every little thing, if you look, you'll see God in a lot of things you wouldn't have saw him in if you didn't look for it. So tell me about that area of your life and how you've grown in that area.
I'll give you a good example. The other day when it was raining real bad last week sometime. Anyway, you come into town and you see the buzzards up on the water tower up there drying out.
Yep.
And I thought to myself, I said, God, ain't that us on Sundays? Coming up and drying out. You know what I mean?
Come on.
Just like a bunch of buzzards up there just drying out. And for some people, it's not prayer every day, man. Our Sunday is coming in.
Yeah.
And going through our motions then, and that's our Sunday just like that, just drying out. And
yeah.
I mean, and you kind of just recall your whole week and some things you ain't, listened to God about or prayed about and needed another word about something, because he's going to give it to me some way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to come one way or the other.
Yeah. And then that's the cool thing about when you tell me, hey, man, God showed me this, or I heard God say, even in my messages, there's a lot of times you'll come up and that's how I know that it's really the Lord moving in that moment. See, some people think that the preacher, all he ever wants to hear people say is, man, that was a good sermon. Yeah. What I would rather hear than that was a good sermon is something like what you do, and you come up and you don't just say, man, that was good. You say, let me tell you what the Lord showed me while you were saying that. And that's what, for me, that makes me go, oh, man, God, because that shows me God is speaking, and it ain't just me trying to say something to get through to your mind. And I love that you do that.
I've sat there before, and man, I've said, I knew you'd be in the office over there, and I say, man, I need to go in and John tell about something, And the next thing I know, you get up there and preach about it and hit on it. I said, man, if I would have come up to you, I said it'd been a little bit too ironic for us, but man, that's and it's funny. I mean, if that ain't a testimony of what God can do through your life, I don't know what is.
Man, well, and I don't know how many people, because I know a lot of people know you. You're a popular guy, and everybody loves to hang out with Charlie. I don't know how much everybody out there that's listening to this knows that this is a guy that on a regular basis, man, hears from God. Yeah. And that is just an awesome testimony, because that's something people struggle with. There are so many people struggle with, and I have so many people ask me, how do I hear from God? How do I hear from God? And to what I tell everybody, and you could teach a class on this at this point, is, man, God is speaking. It may not be the way that you thought he would speak or the way you thought he'd communicate with you. You just got to start to recognize some of those things. And that's what you're great at, is recognizing little things and going, well, that was God that put that in my heart or my mind or my, whatever. Yeah.
And then you sometimes I always had a say to was laugh to keep from crying, man. But the thing is living through things that you do got to cry at, and that's when, you pray about everything, and my wife's way better at it than I am with things, She'll tell me all the time, oh, you need to pray, we need to pray about this more, or that, because I'm very impulsive with stuff, so.
Yeah.
But I do listen, and that's my point of direction,
Come on.
Yeah.
You gotta listen.
Gotta listen.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, like, as you think about your life and how far God has brought you, if you were to, let's go back to Charlie, I don't know how many years ago it would benefit you to go back to talk to somebody, whether it be the 25-year-old Charlie, the 18-year-old Charlie, the 16-year-old Charlie, or maybe somebody who's 45 but living like the 20-year-old Charlie. If you were to try to communicate to somebody from where you remember where you were versus where you are now, what piece of advice, what would you give them? What would you...
Man, that's hard. Everybody's so different, but, if it's anybody like me, you really gotta attend and really get into you really gotta get into a message with yourself, what you're going through. Mm-hmm. And really and truly, it's about just, man, for me, it's been opening my Bible. Mm-hmm. My grandpa's Bible. I'll open it and, man, I'll look at something. I say, man, I want to look this up, And it's something that you're going to go through and you're going to look at and read scripture and it's going to put it out right there what you're going through. I have not opened that book up and not seen that.
Yeah.
I've had God put words on my heart that I have to call you and ask you, what is that word? And say, oh man, you need to look into this and that. Man, it's listening and getting into a message, just any message, and just open the Bible and just any page, just start looking at a message, go through it, compare it to what you're going through in life. Do some research, man. Google's right there. That's the easiest thing you can do.
Yeah, we definitely have access now to knowledge.
That's one of my hardest things as a kid, was not having the knowledge to know, and I'm still such a visual guy, you'll say you was reading about the gates and some of the gates this past Sunday, and man, I'm just a visual guy, so I like to see, I wish I had a visual of how things look, because that's one, I got Dave Rackley that we was talking about, that big map, because it's so hard to get yourself wrapped around in the times, and which that's not important. Time's not important.
But having that visual there.
But having that visual of some things that, for me, that you could see and really chronicle your life, you could keep going from there, and that's, man, if you just look at that, it's more there to it than you can believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And believe me, with anybody, this internet's there to give you a message. It's just a matter of opening it up and reading scripture, and right there for me.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I just say, I want to tell you publicly, thank you in front of everybody that watches this, because, man, you have been not only an inspiration and an encouragement to me, but I know there are people that sees God working in your life, and it is such a testimony to them. You're like me. I can say it this way, because you're like me. You're just an average guy, man.
Very
I mean, there ain't nothing about me. I tell people all the time.
Yeah.
I wasn't the smartest at school.
No.
I don't do anything extremely well. I see myself as such an average guy. Now I don't see you that way, but when you talk to me about you, when I try to build you up, you always go back to the same thing I go back to, and it's like, nah, man, I'm just an average guy. There's not a whole lot about me. Because you just amaze me in everything that you do. I'm amazed at what you can accomplish. But like me, when an average guy starts letting God move in their life, and then people start to see it and recognize it, man, that's what people see in you. That's what, I don't know if you remember this. The very first Sunday that I talked to you and Casey, mm-hmm. I remember what I told you, and you probably don't, she probably don't, but for some reason, I remember I told you and Casey on our porch, we were talking on the porch, I said, you are exactly what we're looking to impact.
Yeah.
I said, you are exactly, an average guy that, you know, is starting on ground zero with God, and let's build this thing up and see what God can do with your life. And man, I look back now and I'm just like, man, look at what you've done with Charlie. Look at how he's listening to your voice. Look at how he engages. And even with Casey, your kids, you know, had some amazing prayers with Casey.
It's changed
and
her
stuff.
life.
Yeah, for sure. So man, it's so cool looking back to that conversation. To be honest with you, when you came the first time, I think I remember telling whoever it was that knew you, I talked to someone about how glad I was to see y'all that day, because I didn't know you, but I knew Casey. And I remember saying, they probably ain't going to keep coming, but it was great to meet them. You know, I said, I would love to connect with that couple, because I feel like God could do some really awesome things. And now here we are, probably 6 years later. Y'all were early on from when I got here. It wasn't.
It wasn't very early on when you got here.
Yeah, this is my 7th year in March. Right now, 7 years. So it was probably 6.5 years ago that we had that conversation. And now I look back and I'm like, man, look at what you've done with Charlie Anderson's life. It is unbelievable. And not just you, your dad.
Oh yeah.
Vera.
Got Sharon.
The whole crew, Sharon. Your sister. Man, I just look back and I'm like, man, it's just amazing how your whole family's like my family. I mean, Sharon, your dad, all of them. I love them all to death. I mean, they're just so great. Casey and Sharon invest into so much creatively with us whenever we ask them. They're always right there to help us. Your dad, man, just makes me laugh. He brings joy to my life. So it's just been amazing to watch where you've come from.
Yeah, and man, it's just, there's always room to be better at things too. You know, I mean, that's when you get this close and this far in, and there's things in life that you'll have to step away from. You know, and but man, it's having to make it full circle. Keep raiding.
That's right.
So that's where we're still at. I mean, you know, very imperfect, but still trying to.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that I love about you, man, is you don't try to pretend like you're perfect. I mean, and I'm somebody that most people, you know, when it comes to everyday life, I'm not talking about Sunday. I'm talking everyday life.
That's right.
You know, you and I have been around each other a lot.
They know you like what I know you as.
Right. Yeah. And even the way that, man, when I'll talk to you, I'll see you, and you'll just be straight up real.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you ain't gonna try to front. You ain't gonna try to pretend to be something you're not.
No.
I mean, you're someone who owns the fact that, man, I'm not perfect, but I am pursuing.
Yes.
I'm not perfect, but I am growing, and I think that that's awesome too, man, because there aren't enough people. Most people want to look perfect and want to act perfect, want to be perceived as perfect. But you're like, man, I ain't gonna hide my imperfections
that
from
will
you.
scare a lot of people from church.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't like to be that way.
Yeah.
Be very real, you know.
Yeah, what you see is what you get.
What you see is what you get. Yeah.
We get the same Charlie, no matter what day of the week it is. And that's the truth with you.
That's right.
I can honestly say that. And I love it. I love the fact that I don't have to wonder which Charlie I'm going to get on any given day.
That's right.
You know, it's going to be the one that ain't perfect, but he's trying to do better every day.
Shooting towards it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you want to say, man? We try not to keep you too long or anything like that. I appreciate you taking your time. I know he's busy. He owns a small business in Thompson, and getting away from that, I know, is kind of tough. I don't mean small business like it's not a lot of work. I mean, I use the word small business, meeting not like multiple locations. It's one location. Yeah, you and Chuck. Running that thing. And every now and then you got another little helper that you hire to do some work. So, but man, just thank you for what you've invested into our church. Your whole family, not just you. I mean, publicly, I just want to tell you, some of the stage designs that you see, man, he was key, not like a piece of it. Like, they wouldn't have happened without him. Some of the decorations for some of the events that we've done without Casey and Sharon and you know, those coming out to be a part of that, man, they wouldn't have happened. I mean, your whole family. It's just thank you for what you've done for our ministry and our community, and thank you for just being real.
Yes, sir.
You know, that was one of the reasons I wanted you on here, because I knew we were going to get a real person. There wasn't going to be nothing that was fake.
Man, I said, I hope John knows. I mean,
Man, listen, that's what people want to see.
Yeah.
You know, even the videos that we do, you know, we talk about it sometimes. I said, you know, if you'll notice, like, famous people who do video for a living, whether it be influencers or whatever, you'll see more and more now people aren't doing real produced videos. Now it's more people just walking around with their phone, because people are tired of production.
That's right.
People want, right now, they're in a season where they want something that's very raw and real.
Yeah.
And that's what you bring to the table.
Yes.
And I will tell you guys this that are watching, if you're out there and you know the raw and real you and nobody else does, and you need somebody to just say, hey, you know, would you pray for me? I'm telling you that if you reach out to this guy and say, this is the real me, he ain't going to judge you. He ain't going to look down on you. Yeah. He is not going to look down on you. He will pray for you, and he will encourage you. He'll speak some life into you. And we need people like that in our life. So I appreciate that you're that for me.
I appreciate the people that's around there that, you know, that have come and gone, are still there. And, man, the prayer that they put into my life, you know, I mean, because people like Dave Rackley, you know, awesome guy, just and a lot of people will look at him like, oh, I don't know if I, you know, want, man, just awesome guy, you know. Man, that's one of the funner things I done was do that lesson with him. You know? That's something to learn. I'm so ADHD, I can't learn much stuff, you know, especially reading and all. That's something I like to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, man. It's been so
And
awesome.
it was Jehovah Jireh. And all it was Jehovah,
all the names of God. Yeah.
That's what we learning. So.
Yeah. Well, again, if you need somebody to pray for you, man, let us know. It's always fun getting together with people and hearing their story and hearing their points of view. And one of the things I want you to take away is, man, I'll tell you the same thing I say about myself. I say it about Charlie. This isn't me looking down on Charlie. Same thing I tell people about me. If I can hear God speak, if Charlie can hear God speak,
man, that's the truth.
You can hear God speak. I'm telling you, you can. You just have to start to focus on it. You have to start paying attention to it. You got to hear a few of the miracles that God did in his life with his children. But again, those are just 2 stories of 100 probably that he could tell of what the Lord has done in his life, his marriage, his family, his kids, you know, even as a teenager. I mean, I've been to see him race. God's hand of protection been on him while he raced. Yes. And so...
we've gotten back to Lincoln.
Every time.
Every time.
Every time. Well, man, this is Charlie Anderson on the White Porch. Appreciate your time, man. We love you. We thank you guys for watching and listening to these stories and being a part. And hopefully it's going to be a dry day the rest of the day. I don't think we have no more rain coming in. So we'll go enjoy our day. Have a great Thursday evening, and find a church to attend on Sunday. Wherever you're watching from, don't miss. Go be a part of a gathering. And
Friday, Saturday.
Yep, that's right. All right, man. Well, thank you guys for joining. We'll see you next week on the White Porch.
The White Porch Conversations.